Welcome to everyone who is joining us. Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all Missouri high school students and families, sponsored by the Missouri Association for College Admissions Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at MOACAC.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, MOACAC.org. MOACAC.org. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hello, my name is Cherish Golden and I'm an admission counselor at Beloit College. I've been with the college for about 2 years now and I work with students from the state of Missouri. Joined with me is a colleague who I'll let introduce herself. So I'm going to go through this presentation. I hope you learn a little bit more about Beloit College, and then towards the end we'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A.
Good afternoon, my name is Karin Smith and I am the Midwest Regional Admission Manager for Beloit, and I'm also a Beloit alum. Thank you very much for spending time with us this afternoon.
Great. So first, I'd like to discuss what makes Beloit. So the student body, the classrooms, just the demographics of what we offer. So at Beloit, you will become a productive collaborator, be intellectually and professionally agile, be a creative problem solver, and be an effective communicator. So these are institutional learning outcomes. So when you graduate from Beloit, we want you to have a foundation and take these learning outcomes with you beyond, whether that be going into the job market or going on to graduate school. So our student body is very diverse and very unique. We have about 1,150 students currently. They come from almost all 50 states in the United States, come from over 40 different countries. 50% come from more than 500 miles away. What this means is that Beloit is not a regional institution, so most of the students are not from the state of Wisconsin. It's very geographically diverse. So you will be surrounded by people and cultures that will change your life inevitably. So 98% of our classes are 30 students or less. The student to faculty ratio is 10:1 and our average class size is 15 students. So what this means is that you'll never be in a lecture hall with hundreds of people. Your professor and your classmates will get to know you on a first name basis. There's a lot of co-facilitation in the classroom and a lot of co-learning between the students and the professor. So really unique experiences and a tailored way of doing our education. So 2 distinctive facts about Beloit College that I like to point out are that we have 2 teaching museums on campus. We have the Logan Museum of Anthropology and we have the Wright Museum of Art. And we have a museum studies program on top of that. These are 2 museums with artifacts and work that students can take classes in. They can get hands-on experience and work with these artifacts and just work within the museums. So these are staples of the college and have been for many years. These museums have been open to the public. They've hosted shows in both. So just really cool spaces on campus where you can learn and explore more if these are areas of interest, and if not, maybe taking a class and still having a chance to get in either museum. So next, I'll talk about Beloit and our surrounding area. Where is Beloit, Wisconsin? And Beloit is actually my hometown. I was born and raised in the city, so I always love to speak on it. I just had a great experience growing up here, and I'm happy to be back. So Beloit, we're right at the bottom of Wisconsin on the Wisconsin-Illinois state line. We're an hour south of Madison, Wisconsin. We're an hour and 15 away from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're 90 minutes north of Chicago. So while Beloit is a smaller city, we're centrally located between 3 larger metropolitan areas. So when students do want to get to a larger city, whether that be for leisure or for an internship, it is accessible to do so. So the city of Beloit has around 37,000 people. We have a couple of events that take place each year. So one is the Beloit International Film Festival. This is an event that started when I was in middle school, so it's been in place for almost 20 years now. So different filmmakers will come from all over the world. They'll come to the city. Their films will be showed at different venues in downtown Beloit. This event is open for the public to attend, and we have had a lot of Beloit College students that have participated. So it's really become a staple in the community. Downtown Beloit is about 5 minutes away from campus. So most of our students will gravitate towards the area. Downtown Beloit looks a lot different than it did when I was a kid. So there's a lot of new restaurants and businesses that have opened down there. The city of Beloit has had a strong connection with the college. So students have had field placement and they have had opportunities that go beyond campus. We're also home to a couple of key companies: Carry Ingredients, ABC Supply, Fairbanks Morse, Regal Beloit, and the Beloit Health System. And some of our students have had internships and volunteer opportunities at all of these companies. We also have an award-winning farmers market that takes place in downtown Beloit from May to the end of October. We have our Rock River with the Buccaneer Boathouse, and we have an amazing foodie scene, which ties back to my point of there being a lot of new and local restaurants in downtown Beloit, and just the city of Beloit in general. 174 years of red brick brilliance. What this means is that Beloit College is Wisconsin's oldest continuously operated college. If you ever have the chance to visit campus, and we are offering on-campus visits in very limited numbers, you will see that the majority of buildings have historic preservation. The founders of Beloit College attended Yale University, so you'll also notice that a lot of the buildings tend to have a New England aesthetic. We're also located in the historic East District of Beloit, Wisconsin. So moving on into academics. Education that works. I'll be touching on some of our most popular majors and minors, experiential learning, and then support for our students. So our most popular majors at Beloit are anthropology, again, because of the Logan Museum, biochemistry. A lot of students that go the pre-med route and that go on to medical school will major in biochemistry. And there's specific advising for this called HPAC, Health Professions Advisory Committee. Creative writing, which falls under the English department, is another popular major. Economics, education and youth studies. A lot of students will want to go on to be teachers, whether that's at the elementary, middle, or high school level. And then psychology. 1/3 of our students choose to double major. So double majoring at Beloit doesn't mean staying on for 5 or 6 years. You are staying on track to graduate and you are finishing in 4 years. So if you ever get to the point where you're torn between 2 areas, major in both of them. So again, the majority of our students will choose to do that. Experiential learning. We want students to be gaining experiences that they can put on a resume and that can help them with networking. We really think of doing liberal arts in a modern world. So taking what you've learned in the classroom and applying it beyond. So there's a couple of ways to get experiential learning at Beloit. There's the liberal arts and practice requirement. So no matter what you're majoring in, field work is required for graduation. We want to make sure you're set up for success after Beloit. Again, whether that's going into the job market or going on to graduate school. There's also many study abroad opportunities. If you're interested in study abroad, that would be handled through the Office of International Education. Typically where you would go depends on your major or minor, but students have made proposals to go to places that are outside of their area of study. Research with professors. Research is very important at Beloit. We have 3 symposiums that take place each year where students present their research. One of our former student workers, she did a research project with a professor analyzing the first year program for freshmen, and then she presented her findings at symposium day. Celeb, our Center for Entrepreneurship and Liberal Education at Beloit. This is an off-campus building that's in downtown Beloit. There's many aspects of it. You don't have to be a particular major to utilize this building. They have the Makers Lab, they have Maple Tree Studios. So if you're interested in mixing and producing music, they have Gallery ABBA. So if you're an art student and you'd like to showcase what you've done, that would be the space. And then we have our Beloit Access television station. So if you have interest in film and media production, you would do that in this space. And then we also have our Career and Community Engagement Center. So this is where students go if they want to get help with those post-graduation opportunities. So help with your resume writing, internships, mock interviews, car share. So if you don't have a car and you need to get to and from your field placement, you can sign up to reserve and borrow a car for the day or for the week, whatever works for you. Support for our students. We want to make sure that we're supporting students in every capacity when they get to Beloit. So 3 main departments are the Learning Enrichment and Disability Services Office. So if you are a student with a disability and you need accommodations, whether that's for the classroom or for housing or for dining services, this is the department that you would work with. They also offer tutoring through this department. We also have our writing center. Beloit is a very writing intensive institution. So if you're a student and writing isn't a strength of yours, or if you just want to get a little more help, that's where you would go. And then again, our Office of International Education, where students get study abroad opportunities set up, and they also support our international students. On the other hand, there's specific student programming for underrepresented students. So students that are minorities, students that have a documented disability, LGBT students, first generation and low income students. We have 2 TRIO programs on campus. So we have McNair Scholars, which is a research program for underrepresented students that want to go on to graduate school. We have our Student Excellence in Leadership program. This is a 4-year program that starts off as a summer bridge program for underrepresented students. We have WISCAMP. That's a program for underrepresented students interested in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then we have peer support groups and just other resources and support. So all of those programs are offered through the Office of Student Success, Equity, and Community. Student life. So Beloit is a residential college. What this means is that students are required to live on campus for 3 years. With that, we have 32 different residential options for students to choose from. We want to make sure that you're enjoying your experience on campus and that you really make Beloit your home away from home. So first, I'd like to touch on the Powerhouse. The Powerhouse is our brand new Student Union and Recreation Center. It was opened in February of this year, and it's a really cool multi-purpose facility. It's not just a space for students that are athletes. We have study lounges, we have a new dining option there, the Hamilton's Cafe, we have arcade games and a pool table in the basement, we have the Weisberg Auditorium, and then on the other hand, our Health and Wellness Center is in the Powerhouse. So free mental health counseling, free basic medical services. We have yoga rooms, we have a competition-sized swimming pool, an indoor track, a turf field, and batting cages. So, and even if it's just a space where you just want to come and hang out, the Powerhouse has something for everyone. So in 2018, it was voted the world's best future building at the World Architecture Fair. This was a project where we raised $38 million and we took a decommissioned power plant and repurposed it into this space. Another thing is that in the basement, we have vending machines. So some of those vending machines have free food for students to get. So dining services, at the end of the day, any leftover food, they don't throw that away. They package it into containers and then they take this food and put it in this vending machine for students to grab. So if it's 11 p.m. and the cafeteria is closed and you're feeling hungry, go to the Powerhouse and grab something to eat. A campus designed for you. Again, we have many resources and support and departments that help you. So again, the Powerhouse, our Health and Wellness Center, we have dining services, so Bon Appetit. They provide the food on campus. So there's 3 different dining options on campus. You have Commons, which is the all-you-can-eat cafeteria. We have DK's in Pearson's Hall. which provides grab and go type food. And then we have Hamilton's in the Powerhouse. They are very good about working with students that have dietary restrictions. So whether you have allergies or you're vegan or vegetarian, they do have options for you and they will work with you. Our Office of Residential Life. Again, since students are living on campus for the majority of time at Beloit, we want to make sure that you're being supported. So residential life is housed in Whitney Hall, so one of the residence halls on campus. And again, their doors are open. They have staff on call and on campus 24/7. So just really a place where you can go and get any problems sorted out. We also have our Student Engagement and Leadership Department, also known as SEAL. So this department, they basically oversee all of the student organizations on campus. So if you want to get involved at any point, if you want to see what's available, if you're interested in starting your own organization, this is the department where you would go. We also have clubs and intramurals. So for students that are interested in varsity athletics but still want to stay active, you do have the opportunity to participate in intramurals. And then we have campus employment opportunities, which I'll touch on a little later during financial aid. But working on campus, there are opportunities for you in multiple departments. And then varsity athletics. Beloit College is Division III for athletics. So we currently offer 18 varsity sports. Our mascot is the Buccaneer. If you are interested in athletics at the collegiate level, we do have a form called Recruit Me on our athletic website. So you fill out this form for the sport that you're interested in, and then the head coach will be in touch with you. I know many people that have done Division III athletics. They're really easy to balance out with academics and being involved in other activities. We've had students do study abroad who were athletes. So the coaches, they have a good working relationship with the faculty and staff, and they understand that the student part comes first. Another thing is that there aren't athletic scholarships at the Division III level. That's not unique to Beloit College. So if you are looking into D3 sports, just know that. Our COVID-19 response. So the pandemic has hit the world like nothing we've ever seen. Beloit College realized this and we acted on it very quickly. We wanted to make sure that students remained at the forefront and that their education and experience wasn't greatly impacted in a negative way because of this pandemic. So we created the Beloit Action Plan. This Beloit Action Plan has received national recognition from USA Today, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Chronicle of Higher Education, MSNBC, and other reputable sites. So there's 5 components of this Beloit Action Plan, but I'm only going to touch on 3 today because these 3 relate to you the most as an incoming student and as a prospective student. So the first I'll talk about are mods. So Beloit College, we revised our academic calendar for this school year. So typically a student at Beloit would do 3 or 4 classes for 14 weeks simultaneously. When we had to pivot to being solely online for the spring semester, that caused a lot of stress for students because they had to focus on 3 or 4 classes online. So we wanted to make sure in case we needed to pivot to being online again, that we minimize that stress. So instead of doing 3 or 4 classes for 14 weeks, students now focus on 2 classes for 7.5 weeks in mods. So there's mod 1 and mod 2. You do your 2 classes for 7.5 weeks, you do finals and any papers, and then you start 2 different classes for the second mod. You're still registered for a full-time load of classes, but it's being split up. This will also be in place for the spring semester. It's to be determined if this model will continue beyond this school year. We also have our advanced mentoring program. This is an intentional, inclusive introduction to the full Beloit experience, practical advice, and profound inspiration for the road ahead. So this is a program that's required for first-year students, and then it's optional once you get into your sophomore year. So within 72 hours of a student depositing and saying, I want to attend Beloit, we will pair you with an AMP advisor. So this is a faculty member that will stay in touch with you throughout the summer in addition to your admission counselor. They will help you register for classes. They will get you to start thinking about your college experience and will answer your questions. When you get to campus, this program turns into 3 parts. So there's a disciplinary course that you take that will count towards graduation. There's a second class that you'll take with a cohort of students that's kind of like a nuts and bolts intro to college course. The third part are optional professional and personal development sessions where you can hear from mentors and alums and just anyone that has gained value and experience from Beloit College. And then the last program are the career channels. So career channels are optional. They're basically 5 different channels in different career areas of interest. I think this is a really good program for undecided students. So you can be involved in a channel, you can have access to internships and mentors and advisors, suggested courses that you can take that can kind of expand on your interest in this field. And then there's opportunities for student involvement. So there's business and entrepreneurship, health and healing, justice and rights, sustainability, and arts. Beloit College received a $250,000 grant from the Mellon Foundation to put these channels into place. And there's 2 channels in the works, but they haven't been confirmed yet. So again, experience that you can put on your resume and that can really help you solidify which career path you want to take. So next steps. I'll be speaking about the application process, affordability, some statistics from our senior class, and then my contact information, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So our applications are open. We're on 2 different platforms. We're on the Beloit app, which is through our website, and we're also on the Common application. If you're not familiar with the Common app, that's a website that has a universal application. So you can fill out one application and send it to multiple schools. There's over 700 colleges on the Common app, so it's made it very easy for students to apply. If you would prefer to just apply to us, then that's when you would use the Beloit app. We don't have a preference for whichever platform you use. It's whatever's easiest for you to navigate. With that, we require the application, your current high school transcript, which your counselor will submit, the secondary school report, which your counselor will also submit, and then 1 academic letter of recommendation. We prefer to have the recommendation come from someone who taught you junior year. If you'd like to have more than 1, that's certainly fine. But any teachers, any mentors, coaches, anyone that can vouch for you as a student and how you interact with others. And then also, we're test optional. We don't require the ACT or the SAT. A lot of colleges have gone test optional because of the pandemic, but Beloit College has been test optional for a few years now. So with this, we really focus on your transcript. We see the rigor of coursework you've taken. So if you've done AP classes or IB or dual enrollment or honors, we look at trends with your GPA. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Has it stayed the same? And then we look at your strengths in the core areas. So English, math, social science, foreign language. Also, we pay attention to your writing. We're a very writing intensive institution. So essay is very important. And then we also look at your activities and then your teacher recommendations. We currently have 4 rounds. We have early decision, which is binding. So students that apply under early decision, they know they want to go to Beloit. For students that apply under that round, if they are admitted to Beloit, they do have to withdraw their application from any other institution they've applied to. We also have 2 early action rounds. So we have early action 1, which has a deadline of November 1st, and then we have early action 2, which has a deadline of December 1st. So with both of these rounds, there's a 1-month turnaround time to get your decision. If you are admitted, then about 2 weeks after, you'd get a full financial aid offer. A lot of our student athletes will choose to apply under either early action round, and that's because they're being recruited by multiple institutions. These rounds are not binding. It just means that you'll receive a decision and financial aid offer earlier without having to commit earlier. And then we have our regular decision round, which has a deadline of January 15th. Decisions for this round are released on a rolling basis, and it depends on when you applied. So for example, a student that submits their application January 1st will hear back from us before a student that submitted on January 15th. Again, we don't have a preference for whichever round you apply under. It's what's up to you and what's most comfortable for you in your college search. Affordability. Beloit College was ranked #2 in the nation for financial aid, and that's a statistic from lenu.com. So our sticker price right now is $65,000. Lots of liberal arts colleges have high sticker prices like this, but we have very generous merit aid. Our main merit aid scholarships currently go up to $36,000 a year. There's nothing additional you need to submit. These scholarships are awarded based on your application. We also have 3 additional scholarships, and a student can be eligible for one of those 3. Those can go up to $5,000 per year. There's a scholarship if you sing or play an instrument, so a music scholarship. There's one if you've done study abroad in high school, and then there's one if you're a national merit finalist. For the music scholarship, that is a separate application, and then for the other 2, separate documentation would be needed. So a student can be eligible for one main one and one additional one for a total of up to $41,000, and that's not including any need-based aid. If you want to be considered for any need-based aid, so loans, grants, or work study, you do need to file a FAFSA, so the free application for federal student aid. When you file a FAFSA and have that sent to us, the financial aid office will use it as an index to determine what you're eligible for need-based aid. So what type you're eligible for, and then how much. And then we have campus employment opportunities that are up to $2,000 per year. So that can either be work study or regular campus employment. I think a misconception about working on campus is that it means working in dining services, but that's not the case. We've had students work in multiple departments all over campus. So after financial aid, our average cost of attendance tends to be around $19,818. Again, that's just a rough estimate. It really depends on the individual student. I've seen students with an out-of-pocket cost of less than $4,000. I've seen it go all the way up to over $20,000. So the only way to know for sure what it's going to cost for you to attend is to apply and be admitted and receive a full financial aid offer. We also have a net price calculator on our website if you ever wanted to use that and get an estimate of what a first year of attendance could look like financially. So the last thing I'll leave you with are some statistics from a few of our seniors. And I think this really drives home the value of a Beloit College degree and the value of a Beloit College education. So 85% of seniors had a mentor that encouraged them to pursue their dreams. 94% were working 6 months after graduation. 20% of students were in graduate school 6 months after graduation. So as you can see from these statistics, the trajectory of students in being successful is very high. And what I always recommend to my students is to pay attention to the alums of the college, see what they're doing now, see what their experiences were when they were on campus. Who better to hear it from than people that had firsthand experience? And that's not unique to Beloit. I just suggest that for the college search in general. Really important to pay attention to the alumni. And last, I'll leave you with my contact information. So if you would like to take a picture of this, the top is my email address. So if you ever have any personal questions or if you want to meet with me one-on-one, again, I'm the sole counselor for the state of Missouri, so I'd be more than happy to connect with you. I also text and call, so I have a work cell number, and then you can also schedule an appointment with me. So if you go to our contact page on our website under admissions, that schedule an appointment will take you to my landing page. So I'm still working remotely, so I offer virtual visits in the form of a phone call or a video call. So Zoom, Skype, Google Meets, whichever platform you would like, I'd be happy to connect. And then my main office number is at the bottom. So we have about 16 minutes left, and I will open it up for Q&A, and I will ask my colleague Karen to assist me.
Sure. Good job, Cherish. Oh my gosh, went through a lot of information in there. Students, feel free to type your questions. We do have a couple. One student is asking, can we talk a little bit about what is happening with classes at Beloit right now and with our students? Cherish, you want to answer that question, or I can?
Yes, I can answer that, and then you can chime in if there's anything I've left out. So we have opened up campus, and we do have students on campus. We're not at full capacity. So while we have around 1150 students, we currently have about 680 on campus. So with that, we're offering classes in a mixture of in-person, hybrid, and fully online. So we knew that not every student could come to campus, and we didn't want that to deter someone from continuing their education. So we wanted to offer a variety of class options so students could stay on track. With that, for any student that wanted to be on campus, they had to show proof of a negative COVID test between 7 and 10 days before arrival. And as much as possible, residents like place students in single rooms because we weren't at full capacity and had the available rooms to do so, unless they requested a roommate. And then Beloit College has partnered with Abbott Laboratories in Chicago, Illinois. So starting very soon, every student on campus will be tested every week. So rapid tests that produce results in about 15 minutes. And then there's backup tests that take longer to produce results just as confirmation. For any students that have tested positive, and it hasn't been many so far, they have immediately been placed in isolation. And then their parents or guardians and then their professors have been contacted so they can stay on track with everything. And we do have a COVID dashboard on our website that is open to the public. So that is something you can view to see how our campus is doing. So far we've been persisting. The campus has been doing very well for both of the students that are on campus or if they're doing their work remotely. Karen, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would actually, because I think it's a very important aspect of how we brought students back to campus and why it's working. And it's also very indicative of how things operate at Beloit. And so like so many places across the world, we immediately formed a COVID task force last spring to deal with what was happening and how we were going to deal with those things. And, you know, we quickly sent students home. We actually prevented them from coming back because our students were on spring break when this happened. But from the very beginning, we have had a good number of students who've been involved in working with the COVID task force. And this is very indicative of the space at the table that students have at Beloit in any major decision that's made by the college. And so when the final text came out as to how we would bring students back safely, the Back to Beloit plan, that plan was issued by our students to our students. And so it was a very different feel than on many college campuses where the decision was coming more from a top-down aspect. And so our students have said, you know, we have a choice here, and that choice is to be 6 feet away or to be 600 miles away. And they were the ones who have said to each other, we believe that it's in our best interests to be masked both inside and outside. They have been involved in putting together guidelines for congregating. Students, of course, are very much discouraged to congregate inside, but we do have big, huge tents all over on our campus where students can safely congregate outside. And I have heard some students referencing the NBA and the success that the NBA has experienced with operating in a bubble in Orlando, Florida. And so our students referring to our campus as our own bubble and taking care to protect that bubble. And as Cherish said, we have had a very small number of positive cases on our campus. We have sent no one home. And so I think it's just, as you're trying to get the flavor, the culture for a campus, I think it's important to understand that that is a big part of who we are. Student involvement in all major decisions that are made at Beloit. Okay. Oh, so we have a student asking about our film program. Cherish, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so we do have a media studies program, and it's, again, most of the programs are fairly small at Beloit, meaning that the faculty there that are advisors, they don't have a large caseload of students that they work with. So again, that individualized, tailored assistance and care. So a lot of the media studies classes will take place in the Hendricks Center for the Arts. That's also another off-campus building that's in downtown Beloit. It used to be the Beloit Public Library. Again, they have equipment that you can work with. So, and then Celeb, the entrepreneurship building, that Beloit Access television station. And the faculty, they're always willing to meet with students and just speak more. So I've connected, I actually had a lot of students over the summer that were interested in media studies, and I got them connected to some faculty members directly. And that is a major, so you can major in that now.
I think the other thing I would say is it's not a rigid program, right? So in a previous life, I worked at a different school that had a very well-known film studies, film production program actually. And if at many schools, if you're going to do film production or film study, it's a very rigid program where you're starting at the very beginning with lots of requirements in order to get to the end. And at Beloit, film is done within a liberal arts setting. And so it's not as rigid. There's a great deal of opportunity for individually tailoring that major to be what it is that, sorry, that's my dog, that you would want it to be for you. Okay, another question. Do we accept AP and IB test credits, Cherish?
Yes, and I also work with transfer students, so I talk about test credit and college credit a lot. We do accept both AP and IB scores. So for AP, we accept scores of 4 and 5. You can bring in up to 8 units max for both AP and IB. How the credit comes in for AP, it depends on the class that you took. So it can either substitute a class or it can count as a general unit towards graduation. So for example, AP chemistry or AP physics, that's hard science, so it's not subjective. That's going to substitute a course. AP US history, for example, doesn't, because history is very broad. You cover many centuries in APUSH. So that's just an example of that. So if you do have 4s and 5s for AP, you can have those scores sent to us. That goes to our registrar's office, and then they evaluate that and then give you the appropriate credit. For IB, it depends on what your scores was on either the HL exams or the SL exams. So HL exams range from 6 to 7. You have to have a score of 6 to 7. And then on SL, you have to have a score between 4 and 7. So with IB, you get placed in advanced standing. So if you had got an appropriate score for IB history, for example, you might be placed in a 200 level history class instead of a 100 level. So again, those scores would be sent to our registrar's office. If you've done any dual enrollment with a college, so a 2-year college or a 4-year college, you can have a transcript from that college sent to us, and then we send that to the registrar's office and they do a credit evaluation. So Beloit is on a unit system. So like a 3 credit hour class would come in as 0.75 units, a 1 credit hour, or sorry, let me get it right. A 4 credit hour class would come in as 1 Beloit unit. So you can bring in up to 60 credit hours max, and that's including AP, IB, and dual enrollment. And we have had a lot of students take advantage of this, and they have come in advanced standing because of it.
Great. Okay, another question we have is, what in particular do we look for in a student's application? And I think I'll answer that question. That's okay, Cherish. We are a school that de-emphasizes test scores. And so as Cherish mentioned earlier, we are test optional. We've been test optional for a time. We are not a newly test optional school. When a student submits an application to us, the piece of information that receives the greatest emphasis is your high school record. So what kind of classes you've taken, how well you've done from semester to semester. In general, students being admitted to Beloit are pretty solid B or better students taking some honors and AP classes. Your application essay is another piece of your application that we put a good amount of emphasis on. Beloit is a school that stresses writing across the curriculum. So you're going to do a good amount of writing as a student at Beloit. Your essay is also an opportunity for us to get to know you as an individual, because obviously no two essays are ever the same, and have a glimpse for what you might lend to our college, to our campus culture beyond your academics. And so your essay is a place where you can talk about what you're passionate about, what you care about, things that you've done. And so we place a good amount of emphasis there. Extracurricular involvement, we're a residential college, and if students coming to us are only good students and not involved in things outside the classroom, we're not necessarily going to be a place that you're going to want to spend a lot of time. So we look to see what kind of things you have involved yourself in outside of your classes, whether it's standard extracurricular clubs and organizations at your high school, athletics, jobs. We've seen more and more students coming to us with very responsible jobs. And then your recommendations, and actually the least most important factor to us are standardized test scores if a student chooses to submit them. And what we can show you with our admission statistics is we admit the same percentage of students who submit standardized test scores as those who don't. So you should not worry about that aspect of an application at Beloit. Okay, here's a good question. Is an art portfolio needed for arts majors? And if so, what do you want them to look like? You want to answer that, Cherish?
Sure. It's not required, but for example, if you submit an art portfolio, we will, and we see that you have an interest in art, we will forward that to the art department. So whether you're applying through the Beloit app or the Common App, the portfolio is something that you can add on to afterwards. So after you submit an application with us, you get an email for your applicant status page. This status page is where you can check the status of your application. You can see what materials have come in, what's still needed. And then in that status page, there's a section for your portfolio where you can add materials. Usually students, they'll take a picture of their artwork. We have had students try to physically mail their pieces. We ask that you don't do that, but yeah, just, submitting a picture of what you've done. And yeah, in our reader form, when we review applications, if we see that you do have a portfolio and that you have an interest in art, then we make a note to forward it along. Again, as Karen said, I would agree. I would just add that the art program at Beloit also isn't rigid. So it's also giving you a lot of opportunity to be individual and just explore which area of art that you want. So yeah, and all of the professors, they have different specialties.
Right. And I also would say, if you're an artist, yes, show us some of that artwork, because it's a big part of who you are and what you care about. And we're going to take that into consideration as we're reviewing your application. Another thing that Cherish didn't mention is if you're a filmmaker, right, you can provide us with a link to your film if you'd like to do that, whether you've uploaded it to YouTube or some other platform. If you're a filmmaker, let us know. It's a big part of who you are and what you care about. And so we don't require it. So we're not going to hold up processing of your application waiting for that, but we certainly invite it. Yeah. I think we're just about done. I don't see any other questions. I want to thank you all very much for spending time with us this afternoon. You certainly had lots of other choices as to where you could be. Cherish, if you're from the state of Missouri, Cherish is your admission counselor, and she's amazing at the job that she does, and she has an advantage over me because she is from Beloit, she lives in Beloit, she understands that history. I have the advantage of having been a student at Beloit, although it was a long, long time ago. So between the two of us and the remainder of our colleagues, we can take very good care of you. Also, as Cherish mentioned, we are welcoming visitors to campus through the admissions office, one family at a time. So we're trying to not completely shut down that option for families, but we're also leaning very much towards making it as safe as we can for all that are involved. And if you want to schedule an on-campus visit, you can see that on our website. We also, like every college in the country, have a number of virtual opportunities for students and families as well. That's it, right? Exactly, 4:45, we are done.
And thank you for attending. That went good. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And good to see you again, Monica.
Thank you. I'm going to share the closing screen for students. So.
Students, I think Monica is about to tell you that when you close your screen, you're going to get a short survey that we all would appreciate you submitting. It won't take you long at all. Also, in a few weeks, less than a week, I think, a couple weeks, a recording of this session will be available in the Stripe. There we go.
So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Karen, for helping. There will be a quick survey when you close your window, and you can sign up for more sessions at MOACAC. That's MOACAC.org, and the recordings will be available on the same website, MOACAC.org. Thank you.